A gracious good evening, beloved students of life. May the blessings of life, which are rich and abundant in every activity, in the great consciousness of Source, find in each of you a conduit to express its perfection. God bless you. Well, precious hearts, I trust that you are ready for the most exciting path before you. Since your great awakening, you have discovered new meanings, sometimes to words that you have heard in the past. You have discovered that Christ is not a person, although there was a person called Jesus the Christ. You have discovered that Christ is a state of mind. It's a state of consciousness. You have discovered, and now, beloved hearts, you are going to enter every single initiation in your life, or rather, your own higher intelligence seeks you to discern and to appropriate that every appearance in your life, everything that is calling to your attention, everything that seems to wish to be healed, to be fixed, to be transformed, everything that you face in the outer world is going to be different now than if those same things were occurring to the mass of the people. For the mass of the people, they will use their various belief systems and what they accept and what they don't accept in dealing with the things, the problems, the appearances that take place in your life. And it is best that you all have such a deep realization that when the appearance side of life seems to get a hold of you, it's not going to let go until the only treatment, the only solution that you will accept and practice is the Christ treatment, the spiritual treatment. Deep breath. So best we all understand, as you have come to understand spiritual terminology, and you know that people use words in a very common way, you have discovered that some of those words are so holy, so powerful. But to get into that holiness, to get into that power and activate it, you have to let go of the old consciousness and trade it in for the new consciousness. And this every Wednesday class, well, most Wednesdays, it's all about that. It's the Tree of Life class. And as we move forward, it's going to be so important that you have absolute clarity so that we can even enter into speaking to you in such a simple manner, yet of such deep, that requires such deep comprehension to understand those things that are spoken simply, because you've studied. So people use the word I am every day to identify what they're doing, where they're going, how they're feeling. And in all your years of study, you've discovered that I am is the most sacred name throughout the universe. The most sacred words. That I am is the name of God. That I am is God in action. That I am is the name appointed to your individualization, your spirituality. You as an individualization of Source, and therefore at one with your Source, you have that sacred name yourself. And therefore, I am is the means given to you to bring forth into action, into manifestation, in the physical world, all that you desire and require. So what is I am in full realization? What is I am in full actualization? What is I am in full action? What is the answer to those three questions? And I'll add in when those things occur in the physical world. What's the name of that? Christ. That's right. When I am is in full realization, when I am is in full actualization, and when I am is in full action in the physical worlds, that individualization of that activity is called the Christ. It's a state of consciousness. And more I desire to keep placing before each of you now with succinct clarity, but the kind that speaks volumes in its deepening effect and impact upon you. That you can take a simple statement and be willing to go away for a little while, an hour or two, a walk, and contemplate it. To be able to say to yourself and own it with authenticity, I am here to reveal the Christ. That's why each of you are here in this world. You're not here to reveal Jesus the Christ. He's already revealed, and he might help you. You are here to reveal the Christ. So let's connect that. What is the Christ? Well, the Christ is I am. Remember, I am is the name of God. Now, let's add in one more piece, shall we? How does God express in this universe? Well, God expresses infinitely. The divine mind, the universal light, the masculine principle. And the polar activity of that is the divine heart, soul of the universe. That pervasive love, the feeling side of life that makes into manifestation all that the mind can conceive. So you have that infinite activity of I am. What are each of you? You are the individualization of that activity. You're the individualization of the infinite. So now, in what you have to practice in the future, when you understand, regardless of all the things that will chase down your attention every day, you're here to reveal the Christ to the world. So, you have the infinite, and each of you are the individualization of the infinite. Therefore, can you put it together and can you understand why Jesus, in his realization, in his actualization, and in his Christ call to action, was able to say, I and the Father are one? Now you could say, now that the mother has been revealed, Now that the soul, the heart has been revealed, you might be able to say, I am one with the spiritual polar activity of God. That means I am one with God the Father, and I am one with God the Mother. And if you can keep walking down this golden path, you must conclude, like every former initiate in the ancient mystery schools, you must conclude. Because your life will demand you to conclude it before you can go to the next step. And that is, oh my goodness, oh my God, there is not God and me. That's two. There's only God. Because I and the Father are one. I, individualization, am one with the infinite. So that itself, you know, precious hearts, you have heard that there are 33 passages to resurrection. You have heard that this year we have collectively raised the student body into the 17th passage. But we haven't fully shared with you the dynamic jumps that can start happening between the 18th and 22nd passage, where moments you can jump up and experience and have a spiritual experience equal to the 28th. Then you got to come back to the 18th, because that's going to make you hungry for more. And so when you can grasp that, if you were in the Himalayan Mystery School, Judy, and Maitreya said to you, who is your individualized I am presence? What would you respond to him? If you had this advanced education, if in that moment that Maitreya asked you and you remembered, I am and God are one, if you then remembered what we have taught you, that your beloved I am presence has projected you into this world, and Maitreya asks you, now tell me wisely and tell me truthfully, who is your I am presence? There's only one answer. Me. Me. That's my true self. Then you'd have to say, but presently I am experiencing a fractured aspect of my true self. But the truth is, that is my true self. Therefore, I must conclude, even when we enter into our daily invocations, we are invoking to ourself, to our great God self, the greater aspect of ourself on earth. Now, sometimes we'll say things in classes, and especially a son. And it won't be long before the messenger will get a few emails from some of the students. I think presently he's got about 85 unanswered emails that go back 6 months. And he'll get to them all eventually. But sometimes a student will get cantankerous and say, okay, I hear you, a son, this world is made up of a belief in two powers. But what about the war that's going on in Iraq? What about the terrorists? What about all the people are dying? So the mind's not connecting it. So for some students, they're still not connecting. So that is the purpose of my discourse with you today. As you go forward, you will advance yourself if you are so clear. The human world is seemingly governed by the law of the book of knowledge of good and evil. So the human race is spellbound into a consciousness that believes in two powers, good and evil. And I've gone on beyond this to say that every religion is swimming in the cesspool of the book of knowledge of good and evil. The only one that shies away from that is Buddhism. But the sinister force that book of knowledge of good and evil, it has infected educational institutions, it's infected science, it's infected religion, and it makes you believe that there's good and that there's evil, two powers. Now, what would happen if you add momentum into that? What would happen if a person's believing in good and evil, and so as a person believes, so is their world? And what a person begins to accept and what they don't accept is based upon their belief system. They believe in two powers, good and evil. And blended into those teachings is a deliberate, unseen intention to breed fear. Because fear is the unfortunate misused energy that locks that belief into place. Nothing short of a spiritual revolution and awakening can break that. So fear locks it in, seems to lock it in. Now, you add one more dynamic activity. Why is it so hard to undo, to change this world that's a manifestation of two powers? Why does it seem to be so hard to change conditions? You can change conditions. People can change conditions every day because people believe in good and people believe in bad. People's hearts are growing. People have conscience. But don't ever forget, precious hearts, that every single day, some of the sweetest, most pure, wonderful people lose their life they have been given to tragedy. And some of the most evil people live lives beyond what they deserve. And that's a fact. It's all the fulfillment of believing in good and evil. You'll have some most beautiful, wonderful, good-loving people, and you go, how did that happen? How did that happen? Good and evil happened. So everything that happens in this world is a belief in two powers. So why a student would still send an email then saying, okay, but what about all this terrorism? Well, what about it? It's a manifestation of believing in two powers. Two powers that will act out and constantly fight each other. The evil is constantly fighting to take over the good. The good is constantly counteracting it. So, if you can understand, this is the Tree of Life class. And if you can understand that the tree of knowledge of good and evil, of two powers, is what's governing this world, then it won't be so outrageous to you if we say something to you, or if you ask a question to us, born again Christians, they say Satan is governing this world. What do you say, Mother Akasha? I would say, ideally, not from a religious point of view, but ideally from a point of truth, they are correct. The tree of knowledge of good and evil is not a direct manifestation of God. It's a direct manifestation of the altered ego. Now, if you want to call the altered ego Lucifer or Satan and dress it up, you can. So, how do you undo this picture show that's been going on for 10 million years? How do you undo it? But that's what you're going to do. And to do that, you must be trained. And the training can't occur over one lifetime. And you, precious hearts, and it's important you keep remembering this. You must not lose your faith. You have been training for 3,000 years. Since the ascension of the Princess Nada, 800 years before Jesus Christ, since her return to the earth. And you might remember she was the Princess Nada of the 5th Golden Age in Arabia 2 million years ago. And that was a fallen race. That was a fallen Golden Age. And when Nada returned and gained her freedom in the ascension, she, and you don't always know because we don't tell you until the timing is right. We say that you've been on this path of awakening for 3,000 years since Nada. We don't always tell you why. Because Lady Nada had the authority to use the gift of her ascension to trigger the flashpoint that 800 years later would welcome the light to this world. And that light manifested as Jesus. And he came to reveal the Christ. He's the first. And he said, when he left, there are others who are coming. They will do the same thing. Yet what they will do will be much greater. What they will do will be on a global scale. They will impact every walk of life. So you have come to reveal the tree of life. And while you do that, you're going to start tearing down every single appearance that the tree of knowledge of good and evil puts in your face. And if you think you just awakened a year ago, well, maybe that was in this embodiment, because there's a veil between each embodiment. And each of you have been reclaiming lost will, taking your power back, knowing what it is like to be a victim, knowing what it is like to be sovereign. You've moved through all of this. And even before Lady Nada, I will remind you that 25,000 of you, 37,000 years ago, 25,000 of you arranged because you were chosen. You were handpicked to be born into a secure area of your planet. That area is called Delphi. That's a location in Greece. And from 37,000 years ago to 25,000 years ago, in a 12,000 year cycle, that was your first major recontact with the existence of angelic beings, ascended beings, great cosmic beings, and with a son and I. So many of you finished that 12,000 year training 25,000 years ago. And then 3,000 years ago, you started your training and awakening for this lifetime. So, are there some years in there? And how many years? That's right. 22,000 years. Well, here's some new information for you. What were you doing in those 22,000 years? A number of things. You'd already made contact with angelic and ascended beings. Remember, Delphi, that area of Greece, had ascended master veils all around it. To the outer world, if you were outside of Delphi, rumors were deliberately spread. If you were outside of Delphi and looked towards Delphi, you would see what seemed to be a mirage. And word spread throughout ancient Greece that if you tried, and many have tried, to get in, you will fail. And the word went on through the land that everyone who tried to get into Delphi without being born there failed and died. And as the word spread quickly, the people of earth said, that is a place to stay away from. No man has ever passed through. Everyone who has tried has failed, has died. This was done so that you would have a secure area of the planet that angels and ascended beings and even extraterrestrials from other systems of worlds could come in, be cloaked in the veil of invisibility, come and go with all of you. After Delphi, in those 22,000 years, you had already made a fresh contact with beings that live in the higher dimensions and other planetary worlds. It was your first contact in millions of years. And when you all finished your great awakenings and teachings at Delphi, you were all given the opportunity to go off planet. To go off planet for a period of dark ages that would appear on the surface of the planet. Some of you went to Shambhala, some of you went over to Venus, some of you went to the Arcturian system, some of you went into the Pleiadian worlds, some of you went into the Orion worlds. You visited. And the word was, stay away from the earth for 22,000 years. Because your earth's going to go through many dark passages. Sometimes a person senses something's going to happen. And when you have darkness that is rained on a planet, and it senses a light is coming, that darkness will act up. And so you stayed away and returned when Lady Nada returned. And then came the others. Very important lifetimes. And then came that cast of characters who came in through the House of David. Some of them are already here. The House of David goes back 7,000 years. So already, David and Solomon and Jessica and Jesse, those figures in the house of David were already grooming a bloodline for Joseph's family and for Mary's family. And then you were there participating in that. And it's important that you remember this, because when you think, how are you going to do this going forward? How are you going to overcome every appearance in the outer world and reveal the Christ? Well, precious hearts, I have said to you many times, you are so much more evolved than you even know. You have even hid the truth from yourself. Because in this world, until you're ready to reveal the Christ, it's not wise to reveal how much you know. It's not even wise to let yourself know. In fact, it's wiser to allow a cloak, a veil, to cause you to forget for a while. All of this is coming to an end. And as it comes to an end, this is a dynamic year. It's a year in which we engage you in the 7 sacred moments. Yet we must take the next step. And the next step is really dynamically training yourself to remove your attention from the problems and the appearances and to turn within and hold the highest truth. Because it's only by placing your attention on the highest truth will God, Christ, be revealed through you. And when that happens, every problem just disappears. Everything in your life turns into a state of perfection. God does not overcome the world. God did that through the life of Jesus the Christ. So in your future now, your path is one activity, and that's keep connecting with your God source, with your God power, so that the Christ is revealed in your life. And as the Christ is revealed in your life, all the appearances, they just disappear. The Christ doesn't beat them up. The Christ doesn't go at war with them. When God is realized and fulfilled through you as the Christ, those things just disappear. There's no war. There's no overcoming. As we've said before, they disappear just as if you entered this room at nighttime and the artificial lights were turned off and the room is dark. You switch on the artificial lights and on comes the light. Did the light battle the dark, or did you just turn on the light and the darkness disappeared? That's the way it is. So in everything moving forward now, it's to apply the tree of life. To apply, to be able to say to yourself, as we move forward after this conclave, conclave is coming up in a week and a half. And when you see the gifts that Mother Mary has come, and when you receive the healing and blending that Mother Mary will do with the crowd for 45 minutes, there'll be no talking. Mother Mary is going to know the tree of life. She's going to know it and blend it with your minds, with your visions, with your hearts, to give you a big step up, so that it's going to be easier for you at any time in your day, whether you're at home, whether you're at the office, Makes no difference. The appearances, the problems are coming right before you. And you just say to yourself, it's time to give my life a treatment. And you close your eyelids. And you're going to connect with God. You're going to practice. And whether it takes 10 or 100 times, you keep practicing. And when that door opens, and you see, you experience firsthand, through you, through your life, the problems just disappear. The answers, they come. New desires well up in you because you went in and said, let me take my attention. I know these things, these problems, they are begging my attention. I'm going to give my life a treatment. And you know, the more you do it and the more you prove it, people will show up in your life. They already have begun. They're showing up in your life because they know you have the answer. Or they know you're going to have the answer. And so you're going to teach yourselves, precious hearts, to give yourselves treatments every day, sometimes many of them. And if a treatment doesn't seem to work, you'll just say, okay, let me just get up and return to my day, and I'll give it another try in a couple hours. And throughout all the teachings, we've talked about it. Now we enter the doing. And it can be as simple as closing your eyelids and just take my attention off all of these appearances. What's the truth? The truth is there's only one presence. The tree of knowledge of good and evil will tell you that there's two, good and evil. The tree of life suggests, which the tree of knowledge replaced by the way. That's the fall from grace. But the original tree of life, which governs this universe. And look at the perfection up there. If we could only get that perfection up there down here on the earth. The tree of life suggests there's only one power, one presence, one intelligence, one activity. Life, God, source, constantly unfolding, constantly in creation, infinitely, individually, and impersonally. That's the truth. And if there's only one presence, and one power, and I am an individualization of that, then I must conclude that I am and God are one. One presence, one power, one activity. So whether the appearance before me is lack, limitation, disease, loss, whatever that appearance is, that appearance is a result of believing in the book of knowledge of good and evil. I'm unplugging. I'm rising up into the tree of life. If I could exist in that consciousness of the tree of life that knows only one presence, one power, one perfection in all states of activity, then that's what I would experience. The most important thing to tell yourself is that for 2 million years, when you came to the earth as the I Am race, that's how you existed. And that's the journey. Some take the journey very gentle, the journey home. But what does that mean? Tens of thousands of spiritual literature's been written. The honest, truthful, authentic journey that demands nothing less than victory and freedom is not always a sweet journey of the journey home. It'll throw hurdles at you. It'll try to stop you. It'll even make you believe that you're being attacked by the sinister force. Doesn't matter. It'll try to, this world, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, will so try to distract you. It'll get your attention involved in conspiracy theories. And do you know, precious hearts, we have students, American students, who love Saint Germain and who know that Saint Germain is standing by for America's freedom. And yet they tune in to these conspiracy theories that the Americans are in alignment with the Chinese to have Chinese troops come into America and help the American government when the American government declares universal martial law. The stupidity of this conspiracy has websites, has radio stations broadcasting this nonsense. So this is just an example. And put it all under one umbrella. It's all the tree of knowledge of good and evil. All of it. So do you want to deal with it? Or do you desire to be raised back up into your true, authentic, original, the journey home, original state of consciousness that knows your original, your authentic, your I am presence, your God self does not have to declare, I and the infinite I am presence are one. It knows it. It's fulfilling it every single moment. But you do until you start remembering it, practicing it, and then you have a breakthrough. You have a breakthrough. And the most next important word of all, as you've heard bits and pieces of this through the years, there's only one presence, one power, one intelligence, one state of perfection. The next important word is activity. There's only one activity in this universe, and that is God unfolding its evolution infinitely, individually, impersonally, within every single activity. So, if the activity of health is creating an appearance in my body, are you then compelled to give yourself a spiritual treatment and say, okay, this is a manifestation of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, the old belief in two powers. I'm going to go up, back into the one consciousness. And in that one consciousness, the only activity of health is God's perfect health, because God is only existing as a state of perfection. So do you see what we're doing here, precious hearts? So the next big leap and the 7 sacred moments that we've got you beginning now is going to support you, and that is the most dynamic year between now and 2016 of giving yourself treatments that will undo every problem in your world. And Mother Mary has held this vision for each of you. And that's why we've given her this conclave in Edmonton to Her Holiness, Mother Mary. And I will end with this. Regarding the Ascended Lady Jennifer Nada, we stated that we would now hold the silence unless there was an announcement to be made. And I can tell you, the first thing, never make assumptions about the Ascended Master realms. That's number one. Every new Ascended Master must go through a timeline of Ascended Master training. Now you might assume that Ascended Master who you will become their protege may be your sponsor, your Ascended Master sponsor, who sponsored your ascension. That may be the case. Beloved Jesus is not Jennifer's sponsor, but he sponsored her ascension. And the announcement that I have to make with you is the following. And it is precious because, it's better he take it up. It is precious because of what's going to happen in Edmonton. That you understand that generally when someone has gained their freedom in the ascension, and it has been, precious hearts, 85 years almost, 80 years. 80 years since the most extraordinary type of ascension for beloved Jennifer Nada. And I can say to you that even the great divine director, who usually chooses who is going to train you, even that can be set aside. I can set that aside. But in this case, it was the soul of Jennifer Dunser that spoke. Even her own family is now coming to understand what a beloved one is messenger number 2's mother. We never speak was, always is. And I want you to know, and I'm not going to tell you whether she's her sponsor or not. You don't need to know that. But what I do want you to know, because it is prevalent upon future things that will occur in this academy, that Mother Mary has been chosen to train the Ascended Lady Jennifer Nada in her Ascended Master training. Mother Mary will be her protege. No, the other way around. Jennifer will be the protege to Mother Mary. She will be with Mother Mary, and this is another exception. She will be for a period of undisclosed time with Mother Mary at all times. Now, if Mother Mary comes into your world, what does that mean? It means that Lady Jennifer Nada is coming with her. If Mother Mary is going to speak to you at Conclave, it means Lady Jennifer Nada is going to be with her. This is going to be absolutely new. This has not been done in your earth realm before. I cannot speak into all of it. But I'm so happy to know that this is what is going to happen. I would like to share something with you. When you have gained your freedom in the ascension, usually within a month, you have created your own beautiful home. You have many show up. You have the ascended elemental beings show up. And they teach you of the nature of the fifth dimensional reality and of the different substances. You have ascended master designers show up who design beautiful homes, and who because you've got to kind of understand precipitated substance is different from something that you mine from the surface. Indeed, a month has passed. Jennifer has a beautiful home on the earth plane, in the farm. Yes. Beautiful, large home. And Mother Mary came to see Jennifer Nada on the day that you would call Sunday past. Came to Jennifer Nada's new home. It was just completed. When Mother Mary arrived, and the home very much looked like her home on the earth plane. And that's a big home. And Mother Mary said, Jennifer Nada, it's absolutely beautiful, but rather small, don't you think? Because everything in the Ascended Master realms, homes are palaces, they're magnificent. Well, Jennifer, she has her own sense of humor. She said to Mother Mary, who she just loves and adores, she said, I knew you were going to say that. One moment. And she clapped her hands, and suddenly the larger precipitated palace of light she created just instantly manifested. Jennifer Nada had already known how to draw the veil of invisibility. And you don't really need to draw the veil of invisibility in an Ascended Master realm. So she knew that Mother Mary wouldn't automatically think about it. So she drew it around her beautiful home. And Mother Mary said, I imagine you've already started to put in a garden, haven't you? Even though you don't need a garden here. You can just precipitate everything. Well, Jennifer is still hanging on to some of her language, and she said to the Holy Mother, she said, you got that right. And walked her around to the back, and this beautiful garden just starting to come up. And Mother Mary said to Jennifer Nada, you know, I could just twinkle my eyes and pinch my nose, and I could cause your garden to be fully ready to be harvested in 3 seconds. And Jennifer said, I've already had an audience with the great divine director, and he is showing me some things that if I grow a perfect garden here, and if I plant everything in my garden that my family back on earth is growing, I can make sure that their garden is as perfect as mine. This can be done, but it can only be done for 37 years. That's the window an Ascended Master has. Mother Mary looked at Jennifer and she said, you're not going to stop with the garden, are you? There's more. Jennifer responded, you got that right. And of course, Her Holiness said, you're going to hold on to some of your earthly language for some time. Oh, I promise not to embarrass you, Your Grace. And that's all I wish to share. So God bless you, beloveds. I will see you one more time before the conclave next Wednesday. Whether you're attending or whether you're tuning into the recording of the conclave or that time, I think that the messenger put it on the schedule for Sunday, just before the final break, the blending, the healing. It'll be so important because through the students at the conclave, Blessed Mary is going to blend with the entire student body. And she's going to need you to loosen your grip, to loosen and just be able to say, you know, all of the appearances, challenges, I'm just going to let them go right now. I'm just going to let them go. Because Mother Mary is going to blend with our minds. She's going to blend with our vision and our hearts. And she needs you to let go of all the things that have tried to suffer you so that you can let her vision in. The wonderful thing about an Ascended Master's mind doesn't mean that their things show up in your mind. It means that all the things in your mind that you'd love to be free of, that you'd love to perfect, that you'd love to have victory and success, it means that her mind as an ascended being has, when she becomes one with your mind, all those things just start transforming. God bless you, dear hearts. Namaste. I thank you.